with Mr. James Marsters. Vandervoort. Miss Allison Mack.
And I don't know about you guys, but I feel great. I went to bed last night. Not hanging out with Ghost of the Robot. They're staying up till like 5:30 in the morning. I don't know where they are. Well, they're probably in bed now. But anyway.
Hi.
Good morning.
Are you guys tired today?
Yes.
Yeah.
But you've been having fun, right?
Yes.
But what should we talk about? You know, I like to say something. This does not apply to anybody else, but this is just to me. I always say this before a talk back. You guys are going to ask me anything that you want. Anything. You try to embarrass me. If you think you can, you're wrong. No one's been able to embarrass me, so do your worst. I don't necessarily promise to answer any question that you ask. But you go ahead. Yeah.
Great. Okay, thanks, guys.
Seriously, yeah, what's up?
Hey guys, my question is to John. I know you do like after Smallville.
I'm having trouble hearing.
Oh, sorry about that.
It's okay.
When you left Smallville, you gave out the information that you've done a lot of charity work, especially the walk that you've done annually. Can you give us more information on that? I will look it up online.
Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's Association, which we should all be aware of because it affects everybody on the planet, I think, at this point. The world, probably. How many people have had somebody they know or a relative with Alzheimer's? Look at that. So there walks every fall to raise money for research for people to be cared for who have Alzheimer's. So I'd say take a stand and support a walk. Get your friends, make a team, and do something for it. Sound good?
I have a question for the entire panel. If you don't have to answer it. From any sets you've ever been on, what's the favorite prop that ended up in your living room? And which one did you wish you really could have gotten?
Favorite prop?
Does it have to be the living room? Okay, all right.
I don't have a prop. Jeez, my microphone is like insane. Hello. Is that better? Thank you. I don't have a favorite prop. Maybe I just go over the top of it.
It's the peas.
Yeah, the close
they're killing
just
it.
outrageous. But I did take my belt. I took Chloe's belt, and I wear it almost every day. It's become Allison's belt, and everyone knows it as my belt. But if you look, even in my publicity shots, I'm wearing the belt. So that's my favorite belt that I've ever taken. And what prop would I like to have?
Which one did you miss? Which one did you wish you could have gotten?
I had a Gautier dress that I wore at one of Lex's weddings. It was gorgeous. I would have killed for that dress. I didn't get it.
I took my Lionel coat. I had about 5. They had 5 for me. And did they give it to me or did I swipe it? But I have one of those nice cashmere coats for the winter in New York.
they actually, when I wrapped, gave me the back of my chair frames. The front that says Smallville, and the back saying my name. So it was my first really exciting show. So those were my two sort of souvenirs. And would I have kept? I could have. I think I got everything that I wanted from that show. I didn't want those shorts. That's for sure. If I had a cape, I would have kept that. And we auctioned off Tom's red jacket at the last convention I did a couple years ago in Toronto. So that was sort of a souvenir that we auctioned off, which was great.
What'd they get for it?
I can't remember. Michael and I auctioned it off together in Toronto. I think it was a fairly decent amount, and it went towards
for a charity?
Yeah, Children's Hospital. And I was sick when I was a baby, and they saved my life, so we tried to auction.
Well, that's your charity.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know.
I don't, as an actor, I don't really like to use props. I think they encumber me, and I always drop them or forget about them. So I always try to not use props. There's not a lot of props that I can choose from. I remember I tried to get on Torchwood. My character had this wristband that would send you through time, and it was a really cool looking prop. And I asked the prop master, I said, "Man, when this is over, can I have the wristband?" And he looked me right in the eye and said, "James, they'll be available at Toys R Us very soon." So I didn't get that. And when Buffy came down, the costume people actually said, if you steal the jacket, we won't tell on you. But I was too proud. I used to produce theater, and I hated actors who stole costumes. I thought that was really low. Sorry, John. Sorry. But, if you're stealing it from a big old TV show, that's not so bad. But stealing it from a theater, that's not good. Anyway, so I didn't take the jacket, and then I heard 2 months later that they sold it for $250,000. And I just thought, you are an idiot, James. I have 2 kids going to college, and I should have stolen the jacket.
Out of all of the storylines that your character was involved in playing out, which one are you most proud of, and which was your least favorite?
Is that a question for everyone on the panel?
Yep.
I'm most proud of the Watchtower storyline. I love how my character made her own superhero avenue for herself and took it. I thought that was awesome. And the one that I was least proud of, is that the second question?
Yeah.
Probably just the amount of time I spent pining over Clark. It's like, get it through your head. It's not into you. That was rough. After 4 seasons, I was like, really? Yeah, really?
I like best when I courted Martha and played with Annette O'Toole. We had a great time together, and it went on for quite a while. Especially after Snidey died. I really started doing it. And the one I didn't like was when I was in prison, they tried to make me good for a while. And that was just plain boring.
I really liked it when I punched Clark and flew way far away. I don't think that qualifies as a storyline, but it's probably my favorite part. My least favorite is not a storyline thing, but they used to, Tom Welling is tall, and I am not. And so if you have us walking together, it's very hard to actually get both of our heads in frame. It's that bad. So they would have to build rampways. A lot of times, if 2 actors are facing each other and they're big height difference, they'll have an apple box. Well, they would build a ramp of apple boxes. They would use hundreds of them, so that we could both be in frame. That was humiliating. And and you can't look down because you're not supposed to be on the ramp, so you slip off and everything. And they gave me these fancy shoes that were very slippery. So yeah, I was always falling off my ramp.
I would say my favorite was when Kara had amnesia, and it was like playing a whole different character and getting to interact with Luthor, and I just love that plot. It was so different for me from what I had been playing, and I'm just disappointed with Kara and teaching a big disappointment. So, yeah, those are my worst and best, I would say.
Yeah, I had an idea actually about how the whole show should end, and I thought that would be so good if they did that. Like, because there was a big question: will he ever put on the cape? Right? And I was like, no, don't ever put on the cape. You don't need that. The last scene when the show comes down, the last scene should be you and your dad. This is before his dad was cut. But you and your dad practicing the character of Clark Kent, right? And you should be like doing a fake walk, like a nerdy walk, and Dad should be like, no, it still looks like you have balls, so do it again. and they figure out, you know, how to play this lie, this character of Clark Kent, so no one will find out he's Superman. And he finally gets the character down, and the last shot should be him putting on the glasses, not the cape, the glasses, picking up the briefcase and walking through the cornfield as Clark Kent, you know, Clark Kent, going to the big city.
Depends on what kind of travel you like.
Allison has taken so many, every hiatus she would take a trip somewhere. An amazing trip, too. She trekked through China. Say that very fast 5 times.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what kind of travel you like. Do you like luxury travel? Do you like adventure travel? Do you like 5-star? Do you like hostels? There's so many. Any kind of travel. I always think it's really great to go. Oh, did you say adventure? I'm sorry. I always think it's great to go somewhere as different as possible. Like, one of my favorite things to do is get off a plane in a place where, like, I can't make out the signs because the characters are so different and, like, the smell is different and there's something so wonderful and freeing about that experience. So I recommend Asia. If you're a new traveler, I would say Southeast Asia. It's a very easy place to travel because it's very safe, but it's also very different and unique. Thailand is great. Laos is beautiful and very peaceful. I would say when you're picking your place to travel, make sure you research what's going on socio-politically at the time, because you can trip into some things that you don't need to trip into if you're not aware of what's going on culturally, especially if you're doing third world travel. But in general, I think the most enlightening and exciting experiences happen in the places that are the most unique and different from Western culture. So that's what I would recommend.
This is for everyone on the panel. I know actors like to tell stories about their roles and their experiences on the TV show. What is your favorite story?
Do we like to tell those? I think we just get asked those questions. I don't know if we necessarily sit around ruminating about that. But what are good stories about Smallville? Is that the question? Yeah.
Or any show?
Any show.
I have bad stories. I have one bad Smallville story.
Well, I'd like to hear that.
Yeah, it's about all of these guys right here.
Oh.
I don't like to tell this, but it's the only story that comes to mind, so why not? So I did a lot of harness work for Supergirl, and they had to actually invent a new sort of harness because I wasn't wearing much clothing at the first half of the season, so there was nowhere to hide it. So it was a bottom harness and a top harness, and that was all great for the first season. And nothing horrible happened at all. It was fantastic. And then season 10, I think my last episode, I was up in the air holding a billboard, and they were setting up our background performers, forgot to bring me down. And it ended up cutting off an artery in my leg. And my eyes were apparently open. Tom was there and told me about it later. But I blacked out, and all I had to do was hold the billboard, and they shot it. And then as they lowered me down, they realized that I wasn't coherent. I'm laughing now, but... And I woke up, and everyone was standing over me. And apparently the medic came in, was on oxygen for like a second, and then Tom knocked on the door, and he's like, okay, let's do the next scene. Walk watch something else. So that was just like a cool experience, but it was fun.
Okay, I have artists.
Yeah.
This is a good one. This is a movie that bombed so bad in the box office. It's just horrible. It was called Dragon Ball, and I played the villain, right? So I realized that they were just never going to use the stuntman for Piccolo. I was playing Piccolo, and that Danny Hernandez, they were just never going to use him. One evening, they called me to set, and Danny is up because they didn't want. They just had a pullover mask for Danny. They didn't want to put him through the 4 hours of makeup that it took to get me in character. So they call me to set. They often call you to set to watch the stuntman work for like moral support, or like just so that you can like assume the same position after the stuntman does the like just the gnarly gag, and then he falls to the ground and just like that, and then you do the same thing, and then they roll on you, and it looks like you did the cool thing. So anyway, Danny is up there on a 30-foot cliff, and he's on the wire. And the gag is that that Piccolo's going to get sucked off the cliff by a magical force, and he's going to rotate and go into like a magical pot and be defeated. Anyway, so all you have to do, so you're on the harness. All you have to do is you have to jump off the 30-foot cliff and then get lateral, get horizontal, and start a rotation. And then the next shot will be rotating the character really fast, and then it cuts together. So Danny oversells it, and I think I'm just there to watch Danny, and I'm not going to do anything. But Danny oversells it. He goes too far off the cliff, and he comes back and slams against the cliff, and she's great. It's about 10 feet on the cliff, and the gag just goes wildly bad. And they lower him to the ground, and he's like twitching, but he's laughing. And the director turns around to me and goes, "Ready?" And I was like, can I just see the playback on that? And like Danny's face is like this big in the frame. And I realized they're just never going to use that guy. It's going to be me the whole time. So, yeah. So
Did you do it?
Yeah, I did the gag. And they said that I did it better than Danny, obviously, because I mean, yeah, it went really well. But then it went very well, and Jojo, the stunt choreographer, I caught him walking past me right after we did the gag, and he said it to his walkie. He goes, "Well, we got away with that one." That was insane. That's my story. Yeah.
Hey, Allison, top that. Jane Fonda knocked me out once. In a movie called Julia, we had a scene together, and I accused her of being a lesbian. And at the end of the scene, she's supposed to walk over and hit me. And I was going to tell her that she didn't have to be afraid of hurting me. It was all right. She could really hit me. And she started to walk over to me, and I thought, oh no, I forgot to tell her she could hit me. And all of a sudden, bang. And I literally saw stars. I know what people say as I fell over in the chair. I felt it was an honor. I was knocked out by Jane Fonda. Julia, you can rent it, or I guess you can even Netflix it now. You can see it happen.
Hey guys, thanks for being here. I was just wondering if Smallville was your favorite project to work on, and if it wasn't, what was? Be it the theater production, the Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves.
My favorite thing to work on actually wasn't a full production, it was a process I went through a couple of years ago. I did a Shakespeare program where I took 8 weeks and studied Shakespeare and all its different approaches and parts and stuff, and then I did a 2-day presentation. As dorky as it is and as unfinished as it was the most satisfying thing I've ever done.
You do Viola?
I didn't do Viola at that time.
What did you do?
No, I did All's Well that Ends Well.
That's a tricky play.
Yes.
I don't know that one. Yeah, that's one of those difficult ones. Yes, yes. Yeah. Allison likes challenges. Yeah. I I did a musical. I love musicals, and I do a lot of theater, but I can't sing. I'm kind of tone deaf. But there's a musical called The Drowsy Chaperone. And there's a character called the Man in the Chair that's on stage the whole time. And I replaced Bob Martin when he went to, who wrote it, who played the Man in the Chair, when he went to London to do it there. So I played it for 4 months on one of my hiatuses from Smallville. So I created a Broadway musical every night I was in heaven.
It was so good.
Yeah. Thank you.
So good.
Best time of my life. It was a dream come true. But I love Smallville. I love being blind. I love giving Lex shock treatment. Heaven things.
Walking on hot coals.
Yeah. Hot coals.
Yeah, you did, didn't you, in Mercy? Didn't you walk on hot
Oh, I did. So many things.
I have a few different favorites for different reasons, but one of the first projects or feature films that I did was an amazing experience for me. The Lookout, and I worked with Joseph Levitt and Jeff Daniels, and hadn't worked with anyone of that caliber before. And Joseph and I had this rehearsal with the director before I started shooting, and we just had this scene. He wanted to see us run. We played boyfriend and girlfriend, and it just got so. I never felt anything like that before. We both started crying, and it was just a great moment. And we left the office, and Joseph said, "That's what it's all about." So I always remember that when I'm going into a scene where you have to really connect with somebody, and I always try to look for that now to find that bond. So that was amazing. And in terms of an entire experience, probably I just wrapped a new show that I'm doing called Bitten, and it was very challenging. I was in everything, every scene, every day, and I've never had that. It was action, romance. You know, I think it's the character that's challenged me the most. She's very layered. She had a horrible upbringing. She's got a lot of demons. So hopefully you guys will enjoy it when it comes out in January. Yeah.
My favorite moment wasn't as an actor, it was as a producer. I used to have a small theater company in Chicago and also Seattle. And we talked Dr. Seuss's widow into releasing the rights to Dr. Seuss again. This was a while ago. No one was allowed to perform Dr. Seuss for like 30 years because of a cartoon in the 70s that took the Lorax thing and then made it something else. And Seuss just thought that sucked so bad. He was like, never again. Don't let actors do this. It's just books. So we were in communication with his widow for like 2 years, and finally talked her into releasing a bunch of small stories. So we did. It was like a Christmas show. So it was The Grinch and other stories by Dr. Seuss. So I'm producing it, and like we don't really have like money. You know, we had like $4,000 per show, and that included the rent on the space, which was like $2,700 or $2,500 a month. So we really had no money at all, and I had to make like 45 props, zizzle, come bumpers, and vodgagas, and like because Seuss has all of this stuff. So I'm just running around the theater, and I'm like just taking any piece of anything that's on the floor and painting it green and gluing it together and finding out how to do it. And the director needs, for one of the pieces, he needs an 18-foot tall war elephant. And he keeps asking me, how's it going for the war elephant? That's the big one. And I keep telling him, oh, don't worry about it again. I'll get around to it. It's going to be beautiful. Don't worry about it. And I have no idea how I'm going to do it. And I realized that I don't even have enough money to make a one-dimensional war elephant. That would be like $300, 18 foot tall. So finally, in technical rehearsals, he turns around to me and goes, well, like in front of the whole cast and everything. And it came to me in a flash, and I said, okay, get me a pulley, get me a long rope, and a bucket, and fill the bucket with every piece of pig iron or whatever we had that's heavy around the theater. And I want to just run the rope through the pulley, and I want to hide the bucket end of the rope with a big black flat. And I want 4 actors to come on pulling this rope, which will be taut because of the counterweight, and I want them to come pulling as if a great weight, as soon as they establish on stage, I want them to stop and do like 2 huff and puffs, like that. And then everybody else on stage, I want them to turn stage right and look up 18 feet and go like that. And it worked! It's like it turned into like a show-stopping great moment, and I was just like, you don't need money, man. Imagination.
Hi guys, thank you so much for being here. I would just like to say first of all, Allison, that Chloe is my favorite character on the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
And my question is for John. My favorite episode of the whole show, I can all 10 seasons on DVD, and my favorite episode in all of them is the one where you and Clark change places, you change bodies while you're in jail.
Oh, yeah.
And I just love that, and I want to know how is that different or challenging or just fun to do a different character than your normal character?
It was the most challenging episode for me. Tom could do me like it was funny. It was terrific, and I had such trouble being heroic, being strong and solid and kind of simple about it. I
thought
kept.
you were phenomenal.
Well, I guess I fooled you then. But they kept saying, "No, John, you're doing too much. Stop! Don't do anything." And I kept thinking, how do I not do anything? I couldn't figure it out.
It was really impressive.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you're here today. I've been carrying around that with me for how many years? About 6 years now. Yeah. And I feel much better now. Thank you.
I enjoyed all of you on Smallville. Mr. Marsters, I really enjoyed watching you pop up in all kinds of different things. I'd like to know from all of you, is there a show that you've ever begged to be on or asked to be on?
And it didn't get on.
No, that maybe you did or didn't, but I know that your agents probably find roles for you, but is there any show you've ever, any of you, that you've ever said, hey, I really want to be on that show?
Well, there's so many. There's so many. I mean, there's such good TV out right now. You know, I was just watching the newsroom the other night. I think that's an incredible show. I'd love to be on that show. I'd love to do Mad Men. You know, I'd love to be on Girls. There's tons and tons of great Breaking Bad. There's tons of great television right now. I'd love to be on.
So you on Breaking Bad?
Oh yeah, see me as an addict. No, there's tons. I think television is in an interesting era right now with cable. There's, you know, people are making little movies every week and they're very good. So, yeah.
I'm a little obsessed with Orange is the New Black. I think I watched that an entire weekend. So I've been on Twitter begging to be on that. And The Walking Dead. Even as just a walker, I could just be a zombie with no lines. I'd be so happy to be on that show. I think it's great. And Girls. And there's, I mean, like Allison said, there's so many wonderful shows. So just to be working is a wonderful thing.
There's a great show on BBC too. That's I would fly myself to London to be on this show because I think it's so amazing. It's called Call the Midwife. Do you guys know this show? It's so cool. It's so interesting, and I would love to. And the acting is just heavenly. So I'd love to be on that.
I remember I telling my agent about a genre that I wanted to get into because I was watching cop shows and I was noticing it's like that is the easiest job because I usually do a lot of like stunt heavy stuff. And when you play a cop, man, you sit in the car and talk a lot, get up, get a cup of coffee, talk to a witness, get back in the car, and that's it. And if it's really like a stunt day is when you pull your gun. So I was like, get me on a cop show. You know, I'm getting hurt. Like after Angel came down, I couldn't walk anymore. It was like 8 months of chiropractic and acupuncture so I could get back on my feet. So I was like, cop, I'll be a cop. And they got me on Without a Trace, and it was looking like it was going to work out long term. It was all beautiful. And then I got a 3-picture deal for Dragon Ball, and I took that. And they told me it was a $120 million budget for the film that Stephen Chow was producing. Stephen Chow did Kung Fu Hustle and Shaolin Soccer. And it was like just a perfect producing match for Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. And I get out to the desert of Durango, Mexico, and I find out it's a $30 million picture. Stephen Chow is a lie. He's not on set, and he's not working on the picture. And I don't have a stuntman. It's just like, Mr. Wizard, I want to be a cop. Yeah, they kick my butt every day. Yeah. I get on the cop show, which is like the biggest stunt fest in the world. Yeah. What's that?
And then you have to leave off the boat.
Yeah. Well, no, that part wasn't me. But a lot of those stunts, actually, Alex is a certified stuntman in Australia, and I'm a certified stunt choreographer for stage in America. I'm not like the really great stunt choreographer. I would be the one that a theater would hire for a play where there's just a little bit of stunts, like not a bunch of stunts, but you still legally have to hire a stunt coordinator for that. And so they would hire me because I was cheap. But they would let Alex and I fight each other, because usually on a TV show, when an actor is doing stunts, they'll pair him with a stuntman, so there's some kind of residual safety going on. But they would let Allison fight all the time, and it was awesome. I remember the last time, and I'll show it. Sorry, should I show it now? The last episode I was on, we were in a prison yard, and it was a real prison yard, so we were fighting on concrete, and Alex had separated his shoulder months before because he does a lot of his own stunts. And the gag was that McGarrett jumps up and double plants me in the with his feet on the chest, and then we both fly back and then hit the concrete. And the director's like, "Okay, Alex, we're gonna call action. You jump up in the air, and that's it. You do not do the gag, right?" And Alex is like, "Yeah, man, right on, boss, right on." And the director walks away, and Alex comes up to me and goes, "Fuck it, man, get it." And like, because we weren't supposed to do it, we weren't padded up for it. You know, like usually you'd have a back pad, some kind of like little protection back there if you could do that gag, but we just did it. It was awesome. We didn't get it.
That's a great story.
What was the question?
TV show.
TV show.
Oh, when Maura Tierney went on ER, I wanted to play with her. So. But I never got to. Maybe I will sometime.
Thanks all for being here. Allison, my question for you, what was it like to play Brainiac?
Play Brainiac? We've all played Brainiac. Everyone on this panel has played Brainiac. But me specifically? It was awesome. No, it was great. I always said that was one of my favorite things to do. I mean, James is a phenomenal actor, so getting to play what he plays so well, kind of like, I'm sure I paled in comparison, but the power of that character was outrageous. And the just mischievous, kind of devious joy that character exuded was so fun to try on. And then also, I mean, you know, I spent 10 years being tiny next to Tom Welling and having him pick me up and carry me everywhere. So having the opportunity to pick him up and toss him around a little bit was pretty cool too.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hi, thank you again for all for coming. This question is for everyone. I was wondering if at any of the points in any of your careers have working with so many what seem like funny people, has there ever been a point in the background that so much fun has been going on that it's been difficult to get on camera and do the role seriously without just cracking up?
Totally. I worked on a TV show with Richard Lewis and Kevin Nealon and Eugene Levy when I was younger, and we shot in front of a live audience. It was a sitcom. And there was one night when Kevin and I couldn't keep it together, and we had to release the audience before we could get our scene because we just kept laughing. It was awful. Yeah, I mean, it was awful, but it was a blast. So yeah, definitely.
They call it corpsing when you do that. When you start laughing and can't stop. And there's a feeling about it that is, it's like a release of, it's, you know, Dostoevsky used to stare into a candle to bring on his fits, because the moment right before was a moment of ecstasy, and that's what it feels like when you corpse, especially on the stage in front of a live audience, because you know at that point there's no going back. And it's an unbelievable feeling, sort of ecstasy, and then, oh no, what have I just done? And how will I ever recover? Because the moment of reality of the play is gone. It's happened to all of us, I think.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to do TED and to do a couple scenes with obviously very funny people, Patrick Warburton, Seth MacFarlane, Mark Wahlberg, John Viner. They were all in the scene with me. I don't know why I was there. I had never done comedy, and Seth MacFarlane would come up with one-liners that he'd whisper them in our ears so the other actors didn't know what we were going to say. They were always raunchy and inappropriate, and we'd all start getting the giggles when he'd come up to us and say something, and we'd all be like, "God, what's that person going to say to us?" And half the stuff that came out of Patrick Warburton's mouth didn't make it to the film. But we had the giggles many a times. One day we were filming in the car rental shop to the point where we had to just take a little break, and they had to get their little comedy routine out, and then we get back to the script. So that was an amazing experience because I hadn't done that before.
I am boring. I really am. I remember asking Joss, like one day we were watching the gag reel, which is always, you always cut together all those goofy parts, and you show it at the cast rap party, and I'm never in them. Never. And I thought, you know, and I was like, man, Joss, that's not fair. And I went to Joss and I asked him why I'm never in the gag reel, and he said, because you are boring. Whenever we cut on you, you do the same thing. You look down to see if you're on your mark, and then you go sit in your chair. It's the same thing over and over and over and over again. You don't do anything funny, you never have. I thought back, I was like, God, he's totally right. It's so boring. And I remember making an ass out of myself when I went to do Torchwood for the first time. Because like John Barrowman is an awesome human being, and that cast is in love with each other. It's a really wonderful place to work, but I didn't know. Yeah, John is gay. And he is one of those people that say, hi, I'm gay, so I'll grab your breast. It's okay. And he just gets away with it. So he's like just all over Nyoko that day. It's my first day on the set. And Nyoko is she's tired. She's just like, John, not now. God, stop it. Stop. And so she's saying no, in effect, and he's not taking no for an answer. And I'm thinking, this is horrible. Do something about this. So I was like, hey, Nyoko, man, sneeze. She's like, what? She's like, next time he comes up behind you like that, just sneeze. Like that. It'll pop him right in the nose, man. Just put a stop to that right away. Or a little elbow right in the back, right in the solar plexus. That'll stop him. Or there's a lot of small bones in the foot, on the top of the foot. You just smack your heel down on those small bones, he'll stop right away. And the whole cast just looked like in horror. And just a violent American jerk. Like, who let him in the pool? Oh no! But I caught on pretty easily. Yeah. This is serious.
Hey guys, I want to know what you guys think of Man of Steel.
I didn't see it.
You kind of
I haven't seen it actually yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either. So,
Yeah. I want to see it.
Did you like it?
Not as much as Smallville.
You know what? I think Smallville is such a great project. Like when I was growing up, I liked Batman more than Superman because Batman, if you shoot Batman, he's dead. So there's an inherent danger there. It's easy to get Batman in a really good adventure because you have to imperil the lead. The lead's his life's got to be in danger or it's not so exciting. And with Superman, unless you have kryptonite, it's impossible. He's invulnerable. But Smallville takes Superman before he's Superman, before he's fully himself. And so he's vulnerable the whole time because he doesn't know anything yet. And his adventures can be like falling in love or trying to become a man, or all of the things that you have to learn when you're growing up. I thought it was just genius. Yeah. Anyway.
Good afternoon. This is for James and John. I know that both of y'all have worked on the audiobooks of Harry Dresden. Yes, I was interested in your experience, and do you work with Jim Butcher to kind of bring that to life, to get kind of his vision, or is that they give you the script and you do it?
Yes. Yeah, and Jim is not there, but they call Jim a lot. Like, do you really mean for us to read that? I'll say this. Sometimes I gave Jim crap in the booth. Like I would say, it would bother me because he would. I don't know if you noticed this, Jim. You did it, John. But every page was the word "little." Every page of every book, every page has the word "little." And for me, it's hard to say that word. Little. You have to say it perfectly for a book on Jim. And so I would just stop and say, Jim Butcher, you are a very good writer. There are other words in the English language. Here are a few. Tiny, minuscule, small, diminutive. Just little word in your ear there, Jim. But I think they probably cut all that out before Jim ever heard it, or I probably would have been fired.
I didn't know Little was on every page. I only read one of them. You read a lot of them.
Yeah. 12 or something. And there's there's a lot more too. Reading those two.
It was a very intricate read. He's a complex writer. It's a big challenge. It's a lot of fun.
I have a two-part question. One's a Smallville question, one's a Ted question. For Ted, he lost his voice warning too hard at DragonCon. For Laura, Ted would like to know if you would be his co-star and love interest with Ted too. And secondly, for the Smallville panel, with Superman still being in the consciousness of talking about Man of Steel, what do you think is the overall legacy, the 10-year legacy of Superman, and with the Smallville legacy and overall Superman lore?
Is the legacy that Smallville leaves to the Superman universe?
Yes.
Sure, I'll answer the TED, yeah. Sure. I believe we are doing a TED too, so that would be likely. Yeah. Cool.
I think we profiled the rise of a hero and the demise of a villain. I think that was what Smallville set out to do, and I think we achieved that in sort of showing the motivation and the reason and the sort of what it takes to build a hero, and also the reason and the motivation and what it takes to create a villain. And I think that was the intention in showing, in creating Smallville, was really to kind of start Clark and Lex on an even playing field, and then show the ingredients that are necessary to create someone with moral strength and conscience, and then the ingredients and what it takes to destroy that. So that, I think, is the legacy that we leave and the contribution that we make to the legend.
Well said.
Yeah.
Very good.
I don't think we need to touch that.
Yeah. Well done.
Hello. I was wondering how you guys felt having Christopher Reeves and Mark Kidder and Dean Cain on your guys' show.
Carrie Fisher and Helen Slater. Riker Howard.
Yeah, it was always very exciting, especially when the earlier Superman people
it was a huge honor to have Christopher Reeve as a part of our show. I felt very honored to be a part of something that he was a part of because of his, he was my favorite Superman. He was the strength of character and the things that he was pursuing for himself personally, and the way that he shared that personal struggle with the world in order to try and move things forward for all people with spinal injuries, I thought was incredible. So the fact that we could participate in aiding him in pursuing that vision because of our show was a huge honor. So.
Following up that, John Glover, you got to actually work with Chris Reeve. What was that like?
It was terrific. I'd worked with him before he had his accident up at a small theater in Williamstown, Massachusetts. We had done the Cherry Orchard together. He and I and Blythe Danner were the little couple that love triangle that played. So I'd known Chris before, so it was quite amazing and inspiring to see him in his new self. He was an amazing man. He took that accident and as Allison said, changed other people's lives because of it. Brought an awareness. He was brave. So it was amazing. Wonderful.
So John, did they ask you if it was okay to shave your head, or did they just tell you? Did Michael welcome you properly and say, how do you like this now?
I offered the shaving head up to Miles one day in the makeup trailer. I had that long hair, and as a lot of you ladies know, that long hair is really difficult to work with. So I got a little tired of it and wanted to get rid of it. So I said, if you'll film it, I'll shave it. We'll shave it. Shave it on camera. So he thought that was a grand idea. So I didn't even think about legs. It was just a selfish thing I needed to do. Oh, Lionel.
Good afternoon. This is for James Dawson for everybody. Of course, you work with Joss Whedon on Buffy and Angel and everything. And you hear a lot of actors who work with him, almost this cult-like devotion to him, and just wanting to get it right for him. Did you have that experience and that relationship with him? And for everyone else, did you have a similar relationship with other actors or directors or producers?
Right on. Yeah, Joss is a great person. Really, really cool. He's a genius, so he's fiery sometimes. Sometimes you'd be like, hey, Joss, how's it going? Shut up, I'm thinking, Well, you always know that there's love back there. I got to say, I didn't really get to know him for a long time because I was afraid of him. In Buffy, the vampires are supposed to be ugly and very quickly killed off because they're metaphors for all of the things that you overcome in adolescence. So he used to say, I don't like that Anne Rice crap. And he got talked into one romantic vampire that was Angel by his writing partner, David Greenwald. And Angel took off like a shot. And he was like, that's it. You get one, and that's the only vampire. Everybody else is going to be dead and ugly and horrible. That's it. And then they dyed my hair blonde, and they let me put eye makeup on, and they gave me an awesome code, and the audience reacted to Spike as if he were a romantic character. And I remember Joss, he backed me up against a wall one day and said, I don't care how popular you are dead, you are dead, you are dead. I was just like, dude, it's your football, man, okay? And so I was convinced that if he had to look at me too much, he would kill me off. So whenever he came onto the set, I would get out of his way. I'm just going to disappear, and hopefully he'll forget about me, and I'll have a job. Because he was, when I was on Buffy, he was over on Angel most of the time, getting that off the ground. And when I went over to Angel, he was doing Serenity, I think. So he was often elsewhere. But then later on, he started. He started inviting actors to read Shakespeare at his home, And so I got to know him really doing that mostly. And I will say this: one day, because we would, we'd party after we read the play. He'd break out a jug of wine and we'd have fun. And then during one of these parties, I brought my guitar and just said, if we're going to party, I can play music. And I played some songs. And then the next week, he played piano. And then other people started bringing musical instruments, and it became more musical. And Josh says that's the reason that he got the idea for the musical Buffy episode. So I started that.
I wanted to thank you all for being here today, and welcome to Atlanta. My question is for all of you. What is your favorite city in the world to be at?
Atlanta. Especially this weekend. There's so many great cities out there.
Buenos Aires, that's an incredible city. Chicago's great. Manhattan. Shanghai.
Barcelona is.
Barcelona. I know that.
Yeah, there's an architect, Gaudi, did a lot of work in Barcelona. In fact, the only modern cathedral just got finished. It's a Gaudi cathedral. It looks like it was made from silly sand, or it looks like a cathedral that has been underwater for 500 years. It's the weirdest, most beautiful cathedral. Yeah, is that the name? Far out. Right? Yeah, Google that on your smartphone. You'll see the whole thing. I think that I had my most artistically. I had the most fun in Seattle because that's where my theater really took off. I did a lot of plays, so I have a soft spot in my heart for Seattle for sure. Yeah.
Hi, I actually have a two-part question for you. Mr. Glover talked about his work with the Alzheimer's Foundation. I was wondering if there are any other charities that you all work with, and what got you involved with those charities. And then I'm also curious about what future projects you have coming up.
I'm about to go off to do a production of Macbeth at Lincoln Center in New York. Ethan Hawke is playing Macbeth, and I'm playing one of the witches. So we play late October through January 12th. If you're in New York, come to Lincoln Center and see what promises to be a very exciting production of a very great play. Shakespeare, you know.
That is my favorite Shakespeare play.
A lot of people have said that to me. Yeah, it's a powerful play.
It's very dark.
Anybody seen Macbeth before? Well, come on back and see another one.
Do you know what I think, John? Do you know what I think the secret of Macbeth is?
What?
Lady Macbeth is not a bitch. She's almost an innocent character, because like the tragedy is that moment when Macbeth finds out that she's dead and can't feel anything, and that's when the audience realizes he's really lost his soul. That's when the emotional impact comes in. And if she's been castrating him the whole play, then everyone's like, well, thank God she's gone, But if they're very much in love, and then because of ambition and because of their murders, they lose each other, that's tragic.
Yes.
Yeah. But if you make I've seen it both ways, and if Lady M's a bitch, it doesn't.
I don't think she'll be a bitch. Yeah. I think that'll be a real hot sexual relationship between the two.
I talked too much.
Was there more? Did we answer the question? The question?
Oh, the charities, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned the Norfolk General Children's Hospital. I have links on my website if you care to donate for the neonatal unit. And I also work with PETA and the Gentle Barn in Los Angeles. They take in animals that are on their last leg or going to the slaughterhouse and give them a last little nice life for a couple weeks. So check that out on my website. And I guess I'm just starting something with breast cancer right now. That'll be coming out soon, so you can check that out on lauravandervoort.com. And there was another part to that question, wasn't there? Yeah, your future prop. Bitten. Bitten is my new series that I mentioned. It'll be on hopefully Sci-Fi, we're hoping, in the U.S. and space in Canada. Woo! It's about werewolves. I don't have any projects right now that I'm working on currently. And a friend of mine started an organization called A-Step, which is an organization that goes to different communities that are in need, whether they're in places in the United States or places overseas like India, and they bring theater and theatrical classes to children as an outlet and a safe space for them to come as an option, other than being on the streets. So when I can, I support her organization. You can check it out. It's just astep.org, A-S-T-E-P.
I'd like to work with the Elizabeth Glazier Pediatric AIDS Foundation. I shaved my head for them once when Angel came down and we shaved all the blonde hair off because I was just sick of that blonde hair. And I went on the Ryan Seacrest show and Ryan shaved me bald. That was fun. And then I'm working with a French television company on a show called Metal Hurlant, which is heavy metal. I don't know if you guys read that comic or I saw that movie. It's the same thing. It started as a French comic book, and it's all episodic, different characters every week, different situations, really dark endings, and just horrible tragedy for everybody involved. It's really cool. It's like the original Twilight Zones, the black and whites with always a bad ending. The first one I did really quick, was about an 18-year-old girl that wakes up in a bomb shelter and her next door neighbor's down there with her, and he says, World War III has started, the missiles have already been fired, I happen to have had a bomb shelter, but I didn't have time to explain this to you, so I just knocked you over the head and dragged you down to this basement, but you cannot open the door. And she's got to figure out if he's lying or not. So the first season was only 6 episodes, the second season is 6 episodes, and the Sci-Fi Channel said that as soon as you have 12 finished, come to us, we'll buy it. And so it'll probably be on Sci-Fi within a year.
My question for all of you is, which was your favorite Smallville episode of the series?
I think noir. I said that yesterday in the panel, but I do think that was stylistically and creatively, was really fun to do something. That was the one that took place in the 1940s, where Jimmy goes back, and I think he gets knocked out or something in the beginning, and the whole episode is shot in black and white, and I get to do like a His Girl Friday thing, which was very fun and cool. So yeah, that I think was the most unique and most interesting.
Shucks, I take mercy because I had a nice. I was Harrison Ford in that. I got a chance to do stunts and all that kind of stuff, and I saved Martha. And I'd do anything for Martha.
I said this yesterday too, so I feel bad repeating it. But when I had amnesia, and also when Carol was on Red Kryptonite.
The horny stuff.
The horny stuff. Yeah, we went on about that yesterday. That was just fun because she was bad and Supergirl had been a little boring up to that point, goody two-shoes. A little bit of a brat, but I really wasn't a fun brat until that moment.
I think my favorite one was when we had that fight in the Fortress of Solitude. And it was, at first I thought, well, this is not, super fights are boring to film because you just hit someone once and it's like 3 days of special effects. You don't really actually mix it up as actors, you don't really do a lot of stunts, it's just cow, and then they take over for 3 days. But all the special effects were really fun to do. Like, you know, they put you in this I'd never been in this gimbal before, where it can spin your body, you know, like all different ways, and the camera's like whizzing by, so it really looks like the characters going through space.
I watched all of The Sopranos while you guys were shooting that.
Yeah.
I did. I was in that scene, but I was like hiding behind an icicle or something, you know? Like, I didn't really have much of anything to do other than watch these two guys beat themselves up or beat each other up. So I spent most of my time in my trailer, and I watched every episode of The Sopranos. I was talking like this by the end of it. Like, I didn't know who I was. An actor's life.